The office of the Ekurhuleni Speaker, Raymond Dhlamini, says the programming committee will determine the admissibility of the ANC's motion of no confidence against Mayor Tania Campbell. The ANC accuses the mayor of failing to ensure equitable and sustainable service delivery, saying she has neglected delivering services to townships. The party want the speaker to call an extraordinary council meeting on the 26th of October. Recently in the city of Johannesburg, the DA's Dr. Mpho Phalatse was ousted and replaced by the ANC's Dada Morero. Sandile Swana, political analyst, joins Full View now to discuss this latest development in coalition politics. Good evening and welcome, Sandile. This would appear, at least, to have the makings of a victory for the ANC strategy to remove DA mayors from all three metros, following their success in the city of Johannesburg with Mpho Phalatse. I would imagine you're not surprised they're going this route, are you?
It's not surprising that they are going down this road of intimidating the DA for now, because I say intimidating because it appears as if they are not following proper procedures for now. So we will see whether their motion of no confidence is actually accepted by the programming committee and the speaker for the 26th. But indeed, the DA is under pressure right now.
Share your perspective, Sandile, on the courtships the ANC would have to make it happen. They have 86 seats against the coalition members with their combined 94, and they're going to have to look to the EFF with their 31 to strengthen their hand, or for some, I don't know, unexpected support from lone coalition players. How would you likely see this playing out in terms of alliances should they get the go-ahead?
Let's start off by pointing out that the previous mayor, ANC mayor, was also governing under a coalition. This coalition of the DA has not lasted 12 months. If you remember, the elections were in November. So that is why it's so worrisome as to why would loyalties shift so quickly. These loyalties are not shifting so quickly because of performance, non-performance, poor governance, or anything. They are shifting because the DA is not reading the political chessboard accurately and making sure that it is going along, if I were to be totally blunt, with black politics. So once that issue is on the table, the other party, the people who were defeated in the election, specifically the ANC, can get as many partners as possible. It just becomes much easier for them to get those partners.
Well, let's look to the trade-offs then, Sandile. What are they likely, or how are they likely to manifest going forward?
The EFF has said something interesting about this move of the ANC in Ekurhuleni, that they are not interested in trade-offs or trading of positions, right? Whereby you'll be the speaker, you'll be the MMC, that sort of discussion. And that position is relevant, but you also have others like the perhaps even Action SA, perhaps the likes of PA and others. It's a history of that municipality where people just want to get the big positions in the municipality. So there is no trade-off that is possible in terms of policy. The problems that they are complaining about, that the black townships have been ignored. The Tembisa Forum, a community forum, will tell you that probably these problems that are there have been there since 1994. The ANC did nothing about those problems. And they actually distanced themselves even from the protests that had happened. So I don't anticipate that will be trade-off in terms of policy and budgeting position. The only trade-offs that are possible are trade-offs of who gets which position if they are able to eject the current coalition.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you about the citation from the ANC of a string of failures of Mayor Tania Campbell, most notably, as you just said, around service delivery in townships. And I think you've answered the question of your assessment of what they're saying against the backdrop of their own performance in the metro. But to go to the point that you're talking about now, yourselves, and I've read some of your writing and others, experts are telling us that one of the sites of weaknesses in these coalitions is because the bigger parties overlook the smaller parties for the bigger roles or key positions. Just share with us a little bit more on that position and whether there's a change in that, given that the Speaker in the city of Johannesburg is a minority party appointee, and are we seeing a difference now in the application, of those positions and those alliances?
From where ordinary people like you and me sit, we would see a coalition government as a government of merit. In other words, out of all of us who are here, maybe let's say we form a coalition, who is the best, most competent person to take up the position of Speaker? Who is the best, most qualified person to take up community services and so on and so forth? So it's not just about saying the big positions must necessarily be shared with the smaller parties. That is not the most critical issue, and that's the issue we need to mature to say, fellows, we form the coalition, but which among us must get into office for this coalition to have a credible record of service delivery. Otherwise, we have the problem that the DA has created of saying, by contract, we demand the following three top positions. That is not going to work. Remember that the so-called smaller parties can actually really spoil the party, because if you like, they have very little to lose. The people who are losing reputation even more is the DA and the ANC, and the EFF is a free agent in all of this.
So, so how do those then, given your characterization now, who are not of those, the top three that you mentioned there, how do they capitalize on that, what you would describe as reputational damage to the parties you've mentioned?
Look, at this stage, the issue of reputational damage and loss of votes is already on the table. The ANC is probably by now a 33% party, in terms of metros here in Gauteng. It's around that vicinity. So to get to 50+1 as the ANC alone, it's not going to happen. The DA doesn't even have that experience. So these two bigger parties, the EFF cannot really be put in the same pot, because the EFF has not been in power. They've been kingmakers of one kind or the other. So the people who are here, so the issue of losing credibility now is not even a matter of electoral performance immediately, but in the future it's going to be. If you then, even if you are part of a successful coalition, like Sandile Swana was part of the coalition that held power for probably a full term, but they lost the actual election at the end of it all because of sustained poor performance. So whoever forms the coalition now, even if they interrupt this, if they are able to hold it on for 4 years, at the end of that 4 years, they will still be punished, just like Sandile Swana before them.
And to ask a question, because we've been in these discussions for weeks now, you and I, Sandile, the word maturity, as we mature in our politics, how better do we do coalition politics? What lessons can be drawn from the fate that coalitions are currently experiencing in South Africa, given some of these most recent developments?
It is encouraging that the DA has issued, I think they call it 5-pillar plan or 5-point plan, of how they think coalitions can be made better. But what is important about that plan is that they say they are making suggestions. In other words, now they've stopped being the know-it-all who can tell everybody what to do. They are saying these are the things we can discuss. And some of these things are old, by the way. One of the things that has spoiled South African politics is something that the South African Communist Party's Joe Slovo warned the negotiators at CODESA that we are here as leaders negotiating, but we are not actually giving transparent and full feedback to the masses and picking up what the ordinary masses are thinking. So coalitions, and the DA is saying this, coalitions need to be much more transparent. Even these agreements that they enter into need to be transparent to everybody out there in the community, and so on and so forth.
Well, given some of the machinations here in the city of Johannesburg, it would seem not always worth the paper that they are written on, those agreements. Sandile, we will certainly have more of these discussions in the weeks ahead. Thank you very much for talking to us this evening. We appreciate your time.
Thank you. Bye.
Sandile Swana is a political analyst that we talk to often on these matters.